What's up? My name is Bro McCloskey. This is Bro Knows Movies, and today we are going to continue my Blu-ray collection. So this is actually a part 2. I have gone through my Blu-rays before, but I have gotten a lot more, like twice as many now. And the ones in my previous video are not going to be in this one. So if you don't see a movie in this video that's like, I feel like you would own that movie, I probably do. Just watch my other video. But for now, I have a stack that is even, honestly, it's twice as big, if not bigger, than my last video. So let's just jump right into it, shall we? The first one we have is Alien Covenant. I made a review on this movie, so if you want to know my full opinion on this movie, you can go watch that. But just a real quick, I enjoyed it. It was better than Alien 3 and 4, but that's not saying much. That's all you need to know. Next up is Avengers Age of Ultron. I do own the first Avengers movie, but it was in my previous video, so we're not going to cover that one. So I really like this movie. I still like the first Avengers movie better, and I understand why some people don't like this movie as much, but I really enjoyed it. Next up, we have Avengers Infinity War. Fun fact, I actually picked this up today. And again, I did actually make a video of this, so if you want to see my full opinion on this movie, go watch that, but it does have spoilers in it, just so you know. Next up is Baby Driver. This is my favorite movie of 2017. If you haven't watched it, watch it. So good. And coming up after Baby Driver is Black Panther. This is my second favorite Marvel movie. My first favorite Marvel movie is Infinity War. But this is my second favorite. I love this movie. One thing I loved about this movie, just real quick, it's not your typical superhero movie. It goes so in depth with this fictional Wakandan culture, and it's just absolutely incredible. I love this movie so much. I love the soundtrack. I love Kendrick Lamar. I have the soundtrack on vinyl. Whoo! It's amazing. This is, hands down, no doubt, my new favorite James Franco movie, and that is The Disaster Artist. I didn't get to see this movie in the theater, and I was really upset about it because I wanted to. But I finally watched it when it came out, and then I bought it immediately after renting it. I love this movie so much. For those of you that don't know, it's the story on how the worst movie of all time was ever made. And when I say the worst movie of all time, I mean, it is. It probably honestly is the worst movie. It's said to be the Citizen Kane of bad movies. And by the way, the original movie is called The Room. This isn't the worst movie ever made. This is a great movie. But The Room is so bad that it's good and watchable. And it's unbelievable that someone could make something like that. So this is the story on how that movie was made. And it's awesome because this movie is not just a flat out parody. It's actually, it has some heart in it. And you feel for the characters or the real people that it's based on. It's just a great movie. I highly recommend it 100%. Next up we have Don't Breathe. Funny thing about this movie is the first time I watched it with my cousins, and we were honestly expecting it to be just this horrible, cheesy horror movie that's not even scary. We were wrong. This movie blew me away. It was just surprised me. It wasn't amazing, but it was a hell of a lot better than I thought it was going to be. Good enough to buy it. And it's the kind of horror that's just like super intense. Like you don't want to look away. You have to keep watching, you know? Great, great horror movie. I really recommend. And now we have Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2. I don't own the first one, but I own the second one. It's funny because I like the first one better. This one is still good, but I also have the first and second one soundtrack on vinyl. I have both of them on vinyl. I have a vinyl collection, so if you want to see those, comment and maybe I'll make a video. They're not as big as my Blu-ray collection, but it's enough, I guess. And then we have It. This is the original one from the 90s. It's not even a movie. It's a 3-hour, 2-parter miniseries, and it is bad. It's really bad. The only reason I own it is because I asked my mom for It for Christmas, the new one. And she got me this. So yeah. I mean, it's cool that I own it now. I wouldn't buy it, but it's cool that I own it. Now that I do, so. But we eventually did correct it, and we did get the new one. So this one was super, super good. Again, it's one of those horror movies that's not really, like, scary. I mean, it is scary. It was terrifying the first time I watched it because I saw it opening weekend in the theater. But it's more on the intense side of scary, you know, where you don't want to look away, where you have to keep watching. It's just like, whoa, what's going to happen next? Which I really like when horror movies do that. So This is a great one. Next up, we have one of the greatest horror movies of all time. I swear to God, if we did not have this horror movie, we wouldn't have half the horror movies we have now, or at least they would be completely different. And that is Jaws. This movie is so good, and it introduced the idea of, well, so did Alfred Hitchcock. Alfred Hitchcock, even though this is Steven Spielberg, but like Spielberg and Alfred Hitchcock both kind of created that thing where what's in your head is 10 times scarier than what's on screen, because you barely see the shark until the very end, and it's absolutely terrifying. I mean, it's cheesy now, but it's still a great movie. Next up, we have John Wick and John Wick Chapter 2. This is a great movie. I like this one better, to be honest. Not by a lot. I still really enjoy this movie, but I do like this one better. And I'm not a huge fan of typical, like, mindless action movies. You know, I'm not a huge fan of those just because there's not really like a good story, I guess. But these movies, for some reason, I don't know why, they're so good. They're both so good. And I do like the second one better, like I've said, but the first one is still super good. So if you like action movies and if you like Keanu Reeves, you probably have already seen them. Next up is another dynamic duo, and it's Kingsman: The Secret Service and Kingsman: The Golden Circle. I actually bought these together in a combo, but it wasn't like a book or anything. It was just both of them wrapped together. I do like this one a lot better than this one, but this one was still good. I'm pretty sure it was on my top 10 list of movies of 2017. I still enjoyed it, but this one was just a lot better. And they're fun because it's like James Bond, but rated R. You know, it's just super fun. And then there's the Alien ripoff that's actually, I have a really unpopular opinion, and I really liked it. Life. This movie wasn't great, but I saw it in the theater and I enjoyed it. Enjoyed it enough to buy it. It's not a ripoff of Alien, but it was definitely inspired by Alien. It's very obvious. So, if you like Alien, you might like this. I did. This is one of the greatest superhero movies of all time because it is just so in-depth and so good. And it's Logan. This movie is so good. I can't even explain. It just goes so in depth with Wolverine, and it shows you just this grumpy old man side of him that, like, you see that he is just tired of it. He's just tired of life, and he just wants to die. So I absolutely love this movie. It's definitely my favorite X-Men movie, even though it's not even an X-Men movie. It's not even a Wolverine movie. It's a Logan movie. That's just super good. Now this is it's not better than the original, but it's Man of Steel. I still like the Christopher Reeves Superman better, but this movie is still good. It's my second favorite movie of the DCEU. The first one is coming up. You probably already know what it is because it's everyone's favorite. So this is a really good movie. So my main problem with this movie is everyone else's problem, and that is just that it is just too dark for a Superman movie. It's not super dark, but for a Superman movie it is. And this movie came out in 2013, so I'm going to spoil it. The end of the movie, when General Zod, the villain, just completely wipes out Metropolis, I don't know. The beginning of the movie, I'll say this, the beginning of the movie is great. You know, Superman becoming Superman is really good, but once he becomes Superman and starts fighting the villains, I just wasn't a fan. I mean, it was still fun and it was still entertaining, but it could have been really better, a lot better. I do love Henry Cavill as Superman, though. I just didn't like the direction it went in. This movie surprised me. I don't know why I bought it, but I did, and I watched it the first time when I bought it. Like, yeah, I didn't even see it when I bought it, but I went home and watched it thinking it was going to be really dumb, but it actually surprised me. And that's Pacific Rim Uprising. The reason why it was better than I thought it was going to be was because it is a cotton candy movie. And it knows that, and it uses it to its advantage, and it just makes it even more fun, you know? It's not better than the first one. I don't own the first one. I don't know why. I really like the first one. I need to buy it, but I do own this one, and it surprised me. It was just better than I thought it was going to be. It's still not great, but it was better than I thought it was going to be, and it's definitely a fun time. So, I'll give it that. This is another movie that surprised me. Power Rangers. I was never a huge fan of Power Rangers as a kid. You know, I only grew up watching like Ben 10 and Teen Titans. I just never got into Power Rangers. But the movie surprised me. I enjoyed it. It wasn't great. I didn't love it. But it was definitely a fun cotton candy movie. And you know, for those of you that say like, oh, you didn't grow up on the original, that's why you didn't love it. Well, or that's why you didn't hate it. Well, one of my best friends did grow up with Power Rangers and had like all the toys and stuff, and he loved this movie more than I did. So, so this movie is a 2-in-1: Predator and Predator 2. Obviously, I like this one better than this one, but this one is still really good. I still really enjoyed this one. I don't know if I like this one better than Predators. I probably do, to be honest. Predators is still good. I don't own it, but I do own the first two. Um, Obviously, you know, Predator introduced one of the most famous movie monsters or movie aliens of all time. So it's a great movie. This one is still entertaining. Boom, A Quiet Place. John Krasinski, man. Who would have thought that Jim Halpert would be directing and starring in a horror movie? And I think he wrote it too. It's just crazy. And it's awesome that they're both married in real life too. So their chemistry is very strong. And again, this is one of those horror movies that is just super intense, you know, just on the edge of your seat the entire time. And, you know, like everyone else, I'm not a huge fan of the way it ended, but up until then, just absolutely amazing. I loved this movie. I loved it. You know how, like, directors will have their debut and it's just, like, such a good movie, and then they'll slowly go downhill? Well, Steven Spielberg did that. And then he came back with Ready Player One. I absolutely loved this movie because it was total Spielberg magic all over again. And it's fun to watch over and over. I mean, I've only seen it a few times, but it's fun to watch like again and again because it's fun to just see all the references. You know, once you actually know the movie and you don't really have to pay attention to the story, you can just look at all the background stuff because every extra is someone that you probably know. You know, a character from a TV show or a movie or a video game or a comic book. And it's just so fun. I love this movie, and I haven't read the book, so I know there's a lot of die-hard book fans that hated the movie because it was so different. But ask yourself, as a movie on its own, it's still good. So this is definitely my favorite movie of him. Spider-Man: Homecoming. You know, there have been three, there's now three, this is the third series of Spider-Man, you know, the second reboot, and he's definitely my favorite. Tobey Maguire is right behind him, and then Andrew Garfield is there. But I absolutely loved this movie because it gave us a Spider-Man that we have not seen before, but we all wanted. You know, that just classic high school Peter Parker. I fell in love with him with Civil War. I fell in love with Peter Parker at his intro, you know, his introduction. And this movie just made me love him even more. And I loved how this is literally like Ferris Bueller with superpowers. And it's just great. So this is a big one. Star Wars: The Last Jedi. The reason why it's so big, it's only one movie, but the reason why it's so big is because it just has a lot of stuff in it. And I'm a huge Star Wars fan, so that's why I bought it. It was a Target exclusive, and I'm a huge Star Wars fan, even though I didn't love this movie. I think it was like number 3 on my top 10 list of 2017. I didn't love it, but I still enjoyed it enough to buy it, and obviously I'm a huge Star Wars fan, so I got the collector's edition. Here's another movie that's total Spielberg magic, except it's not directed by Steven Spielberg. It's produced by him, but it's directed by J.J. Abrams, and you probably know what it is by now. Super 8. Fun fact, if you've seen this, then you know what it's about. If you haven't seen it, then I'll tell you just what it revolves around. It revolves around a group of middle schoolers who, during their summertime, are making a movie, and it takes place in the 70s, late 70s, early 80s, and they're filming with a Super 8 camera. And so this movie actually inspired me to make movies. I went home right after watching this in the theater and wrote my first script. I don't know where that script is. It's awful though. It's bad. But this movie, if I hadn't have seen this movie, I probably just would have started in my interest in film later on, just not that soon. But this is a great movie. I highly recommend if you like E.T. and Goonies and stuff. It's totally one of those movies. And I absolutely love this movie. So if you have seen my video of my top 10 movies of all time, my top 10 favorites, you would know that this is on it. And this is my favorite horror movie of all time. And it's honestly kind of underrated, because not a whole lot of people know about it, like my age. So, my generation, you need to watch this movie, because The Thing is amazing. This is the one from 1982, I think, directed by John Carpenter, starring Kurt Russell. Oh, such a good movie. The prequel is okay. I didn't hate it, I didn't love it, I enjoyed it. This movie is my favorite horror movie of all time. It is just so good. I don't want to go in too in-depth because I don't want this video to be super long, but if you want me to tell my thoughts about all of these movies that I haven't made a review of already, comment below and maybe I'll do it. But for now, we're just going to go through, and this is my favorite horror movie of all time. This is my favorite DCEU movie. Not my favorite DC movie, but my favorite DC Extended Universe movie. Movies in the Justice League universe. Wonder Woman. I'm pretty sure this is everyone's favorite DCEU movie, just because it's the only one that's good. I mean, Man of Steel is good, but this is the only one that's great. I mean, this movie, and I was so happy. I was really scared because I love Wonder Woman, and I was like, why don't they have a Wonder Woman movie yet? And when they finally were making one, after the disappointment of Batman and Superman and Suicide Squad, I was scared. But I love this movie. It's great. I now own all of the DCEU movies except Justice League. I hate that movie, so it's probably going to be a while before I buy it. I'm going to want to buy other movies first. Maybe I'll make a video about why I hate that movie. But I absolutely hate that movie. So this is the last one in the regular Blu-rays, you know, just the one movie. I do have a smaller stack of all the combos I have, but for now this is my last single movie, and it is War for the Planet of the Apes. This is the only one I own on Blu-ray. I own the other two, Rise and Dawn, on DVD, but I own this one on Blu-ray. I plan to buy the other two on Blu-ray, but for now this is all I have, and this is my favorite one of the trilogy. I love this movie because it's you'd think that a movie focused on a CGI character would get boring. No. And this movie isn't even like really action-packed. Like the first two probably had a lot more action. Dawn definitely had a lot more action than this one. But the reason this is my favorite is because the story is absolutely beautiful. And it shows his character perfectly. And it's absolutely amazing. And it's one of those trilogies where they get better with each one, which is very, very rare. So now we are starting on the combos, and these are, you know, a trilogy or just a series of movies that's all in one, and I have quite a bit. The first one is another movie that's on my top 10 list, and it's Back to the Future. The first one is on my top 10 list, not 2 and 3, but this is a book. So, you know, 1, 2, 3, and then a bonus disc. Great movie. If you haven't seen it, why? Why have you not seen it? It's great. The first one is, the second one is good. The third one is, it's good. The third one is, it's not bad, but it's definitely not as good as the first one, and not as good as the second one, but the first one is obviously the best. This is another movie on my top 10 list. Dark Knight trilogy. The Dark Knight is on my top 10 list. The Dark Knight is my favorite superhero movie of all time, obviously my favorite DC movie, and this is all three of them. Batman Begins, The Dark Knight, and The Dark Knight Rises. And this is different. This is not a book. It's actually just really fat Blu-ray box. And then it has some artwork in there, but yeah. This is another one that's just a fat Blu-ray box. It's not a book, but it's a fat Blu-ray box. And it's all 5 Die Hard movies. I've actually only seen the first one. The first one is a great movie. It's my favorite Christmas movie of all time. I haven't seen the other ones though. I have yet to have a marathon, but it is another just really fat Blu-ray. So yeah, the first Die Hard movie is definitely one of the greatest action movies of all time. And if you disagree, then you haven't seen it. This one is a really fat Blu-ray box because it's 8 movies. Harry Potter, all 8 of them. And it is a really fat Blu-ray box. I don't know why they didn't do a book. I think that would be so much easier and cooler. But this is still really cool that I have all of them. I have seen all of these, and I love all of these. I have not read any of the books, but I really liked the movies. I don't know what my favorite one is, though. I really like the first one, and I really like the last one. I like all of them, but I think like the first and last one are like 2 of my favorites. I also really like Prisoner of Azkaban, but anyways. This is the last one that is on my top 10 list. I still have 2 more sets, but Jurassic Park. This is a book, and it's really nice because I love the books. Oh, it's also really cool because it has Jurassic Park, and then Jurassic Park in 3D, and then The Lost World, Jurassic Park 3D, and then Jurassic World in 3D. Jurassic Park is on my top 10 list. It is one of my favorite movies of all time. Fun fact, just really quickly, Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom. I hate that movie. I'm probably never going to buy it. That's not true. I am going to buy it only because I need to own all of them. But I really did not like it. It's my least favorite one, which is saying a lot. Because 2 and 3 are not that good. Next up is one of the greatest superhero trilogies of all time, Spider-Man, the original Tobey Maguire Spider-Man. Well, it's not one of... No, it is one of the greatest superhero trilogies of all time because it's one of the only superhero trilogies of all time. But, you know, obviously Spider-Man 1 is great. Spider-Man 2 is better. Spider-Man 3 is there. And this one is weird because it's not a book. And it's not a fat Blu-ray box. It's like a foldable, a big foldable thing. And so it has the first and second one, and then the third one, and then it has behind the scenes for the third one only. And then it has the spider logo. Last one. This is actually not a movie series or anything. It is a season. Stranger Things Season 1. This is one of the coolest things I own because look at it. It looks, that's not a sticker. It is painted on. It is styled like a VHS tape. And then you pull it out. And it's styled like a VHS tape. Look at that. Stranger Things Season 1. Stranger Things Season 1. And then you open it. And it's like, what? And it's cool. I opened it upside down. But there's a poster in here that I don't really feel like unfolding. Sorry. But there's Season 1 on Blu-ray. And then Season 1 on DVD. I also have Season 1, the soundtrack of Season 1 on vinyl. Yeah, I have quite a bit of vinyls. A lot of them are movie soundtracks, but I still have some albums and stuff. But that is it. I obviously plan to expand my Blu-ray collection. I actually have too much for myself now. I need to get a new shelf. I'm having to stack them. They're all lined up alphabetically, and that was alphabetically the order I did, but I need more room because my shelf is running out of space. I'm having to stack them on top of each other, which looks really unorganized, and I don't like it. But that is it. Again, this is not all of my Blu-ray movies. I still have another video showing my other Blu-ray movies that is a lot shorter because the stack is like half this size. But that's all of it. So stay tuned for part 3 of Blu-ray movies or just another video I upload. So thanks, and I will see you guys later.